Hey everyone, this is going to be my second video of today, and it is going to be one of my miniature Addicts prompts, and this one is actually going to be on when did you first decide that you wanted to start collecting miniatures, and what was your very first miniature that you actually collected. Now this isn't so much remit related as it is just miniature based. So it's more open to like discussion, more so than the other ones were. But I actually first started collecting miniatures when I would say I was about 3, legitimately wanting to collect them. I was very, very young. I would collect all the tiny things that I could find. My grandma actually had an antique store where she had a lot of old vintage dollhouse miniatures and little tiny dolls. They were really ugly and scary for the most part, but I still like flocked to those. I wasn't into actual dolls at all. In fact, I hated dolls, but I did like little stuffed animals, and I did like dollhouse miniatures that I could use with my little stuffed animals. So I probably began collecting and keeping for myself miniatures when I was about 3. And I actually had a very special miniature that, well, he's more of a plushie, and I still love him to this very day. And if he wasn't falling completely apart, I would probably still sleep with him, but I'm afraid that he will legitimately fall completely apart into dust if I do. And I'll actually go get him in a second. But he was pretty much my very first miniature thing that I clung to, and I actually carried him in my backpack to school until I was in 6th grade, I'm gonna say. Because me and his name is BB Bear. Me and BB Bear were like this. He had his own Christmas tree, he had his own camping set, he had his own kitchen, the Kitchen Littles kitchen. If anybody here in America remembers Kitchen Littles, they were the ultimate miniatures. I still have them in my miniature closet over here. Actually, let me go get all that stuff so I can show you. Hold on. Okay everyone, so I actually found my very first real like miniatures that I actually wanted to collect. I had some stuff before that I had collected, but I didn't really keep it around. I had like the Little Tykes house and all of that stuff, but those weren't things that I really gravitated to until I found these things. And I also brought poor little BB Bear that I was just talking about. BB has been through the ringer, and he was my very, very, very best friend. And as you can see, there is not much left of poor BB. He had his own town in my room. I created buildings for him. I created stories for him, which is probably why I still love making stories to this very day. And he was the hottest thing in BB Town, as I used to like to say. All of the girls really loved BB. So, and he has, I have no idea what type of bear he is. I don't know what he was, but you can see that I have literally loved him to rags. I mean, he's literally just rags, and that's why I don't sleep with him anymore, because he, poor little thing, I feel sad for him. He looks so sad. I need to get him like a box, like a window box or something, so he can stay not dust. But anyway, the very first miniatures that I really wanted to collect, and I started collecting these probably a little later. I was probably 8, or no, maybe even, I might have been 6 actually, now that I think about it, because I lived in a different state then, and I moved here when I was 9. So I'm guessing I was more along the age of 6. So they were Kitchen Little Minis, and I loved Kitchen Littles. They made so many things, and they were all metal. I mean, they were just the Supreme miniature. And they were just sold at like Toys R Us back in the 90s. Like the ice cream. They're kind of like Reeman's, except these are almost even strawberry ice cream. I've actually kept them in really good shape, surprisingly. And I had the kitchens, and I had there was like a concession stand for a movie theater with an icy machine, and you push the little lever and an icy would come into your cup, and it had like the dome lid and I just had everything. Hot dogs. And the really cool thing is actually that their pots and pans were all metal, so like these are some heavy duty cookware for miniatures. So these were really the first thing that I began collecting hardcore, really hardcore. You can still find them on eBay a little bit, but they've gotten pretty outrageously expensive over the years. But I'm still digging stuff out. I'm like so excited, like, you know, you got the cakes, and they were kind of, I think why they didn't make it much, like, they didn't last a longer time is they were too big for Barbie, but too small for some of the more popular dolls at the time. So a lot of the Kitchen Littles began to disappear fairly quickly, sadly. I mean, it's really sad because these things, you can tell that they'd be too big for Barbie, but they were too small for other things. So eventually, Kitchen Littles and all of their amazing glory disappeared. But these were the very first things that I really, really gravitated towards. And over in that closet over there, I had the refrigerator and the stove and the concession stand and the kitchen cabinets and all of those things. But unfortunately, they got stuck up in my parents' attic, and the heat has turned all of the plastic into a terrible color of yellow. So I can't really use it anymore. But I want to keep it just in case someday I have some sort of child or something at a much later date in my life that might like to play with these amazing and realistic miniatures, which I could probably use now, but I keep forgetting I have them. So yes, everybody, those were my very first real things that I wanted to collect. And I actually wanted to start collecting miniatures at a much younger age, and did, but a lot of those disappeared. So basically when I was 3 years old I began collecting, and I have been collecting ever since. So share with me your stories, guys. I'd love to hear when you started collecting. Some people start collecting when they're older and they have more disposable income. Some people, like me, have always wanted to collect miniatures and kept them in their pockets when they were 3, 4 years old, and smuggled them home in their coats from your grandma's antique store when you're not supposed to, like me. And yeah, so yes, please share, and I will talk to you guys next time. I forget what the next one's gonna be, but I've got them all written down somewhere, so I'll find it later. Talk to you guys soon. Bye!